You are listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon on YouTube so you can get notified every Tuesday when we upload a new episode.
You can also add us on Facebook and Instagram at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 41.
Fun, fast foods. Or I guess fun facts about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so in this episode, we're going to kind of dive into what fast food is, how it came about, and why we're still eating it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned.
And also just, kind of the current trends of it and where it's going and some of the problems with that. But with that being said, let's dive into the new nutrition in the news. This one caught my attention and just...
I've seen that before.
Oh my gosh. So some of you may have heard or seen this article before, but basically it's from Australia, and a vegan sues her neighbor for barbecuing in their backyard. So she claims that she cannot enjoy her backyard due to the smell of fish. The neighbors, she says, they've put the barbecue there so I can smell the fish. I can't even enjoy my own backyard, and I can't go out there. That's her statement. That's her argument, I suppose. And she also has an issue with the cigarette smoke, that apparently they smoke cigarettes too. And she says because the fumes waft over into her yard. She's also frustrated by the sound of the neighbor's children playing basketball and making too much noise in the yard. This kind of war has dragged on since 2017, and we'll link the article. It was published in Time magazine, so we'll link that. And of course, she's not getting anywhere with her lawsuits, but
I mean, even like the fish part is tricky, obviously, but the cigarette smoke, like even that is like to an extent more I don't know how to, I guess more health threatening than smelling fish. So that one I kind of understand more because you can get secondhand smoke. But even that one is it's still difficult to sue over a smell of that sort. And in this case, I think she should just move.
And in the article, she claims that her neighbors are doing this intentionally to make her mad for whatever reason. And it's in Australia. Like, people barbecue all the time in Australia. So it's not, I don't know.
Way to say the stereotype.
But you know what I mean?
I mean, people live different lifestyles. It's kind of difficult to say that people are intentionally doing that to you. If I had a barbecue, then I would be doing that pretty regularly too. But I don't.
Yeah, it's a little bit silly. But like you said, the whole cigarette smoke thing, that because of the whole risk of secondhand smoke, so many places have banned smoking due to that reason. But how do you control what someone does in the privacy of their own home? It's weird.
It's a little bit more tricky when it comes to that. And then the children playing basketball, I mean that's just, I don't know, that might be the neighborhood where there's a lot of families and kids are running around. I mean,
if you don't like your neighborhood, move. I'm sure there is a neighborhood that would fit her desires a little bit better, but it's just funny.
Watch, she listens to this podcast and she gets offended.
Someone's always offended.
2019.
No biggie. Anyways.
So with that being said, let us know your thoughts about this. But yeah, with that being said, let's kind of dive into fast food. But before that, let's go into kind of the history of fast food, which I kind of, going over this information, I actually thought it was pretty interesting because everyone always thinks McDonald's was the first big boom in the fast food industry, which It definitely is true in regards to that assembly line system that we're talking about. But let's be honest here. White Castle was the OG in this. They were considered the first fast food chain. They were actually founded in 1921 in Wichita, Kansas. And at that time, you have to think about it that in this way, that burgers were not necessarily considered something that you would eat regularly. It would be something you would eat at fairs, circuses, lunch counters. People usually thought it was low
Street food.
quality
Yeah.
meat, right? They thought it was scraps and spoiled food, so they didn't really go towards that burger perception. So when White Castle came about, they built the restaurants in a way so people can see how that food was being prepared. So it kind of gave that idea of cleanliness. And with that being said, this kind of led to the success and helped turn the burger perception into a complete 180 nationwide. And with that being said, McDonald's kind of took over later in 1948. And soon after they opened, you have your Burger King, you have your Taco Bell, and you have your Wendy's. And then places like Carl's Jr., KFC, and Jack in the Box did exist, but they weren't considered fast food at the time. They literally just changed up how they cook their foods in order to keep up with the fast food industry. So with that being said, according to the National Restaurant Association, American sales of fast food totals $163.5 billion in 2005. It's probably a lot more now in 2019.
I know.
And the total sales for McDonald's alone grew 5.6% in 2005. And the company now has 30,000 franchise stores in more than 120 countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
That's a lot, yeah.
So.
It's just interesting to think, like, 100 years ago, burgers were considered
gross.
Like, yeah, gross. Almost like how we sort of think about some hot dogs, I guess, but now you have like gourmet burgers and like, it's turned into not low quality. And of course I think White Castle is like crazy low quality. Like
don't try to diss them too much because I like White Castle.
I do not like White Castle. It makes me nauseous like every time I eat it.
Well, I lived in New Jersey for a bit, so that was a bit of a staple in my life for a second.
Yeah. I growing up partially Midwest, we had a lot of White Castle when I was growing up too, but I'm not a fan.
Oh, yeah.
So if we ever go, that's not on our list.
Oh. Okay.
Let's get into fast food and obesity. But according to an article, and this doesn't come to a surprise, fast food restaurants were positively associated with having a high-fat diet, likely burgers and fries, and higher body mass index. And it's also negatively associated with vegetable consumption and physical activity. So not a true cause, like this equals that, but there's just these negative and positive association. So eat at fast food more, you probably don't exercise and eat quite as many vegetables. There's just a negative association there. The proximity of fast food restaurants to work or home was not associated with eating at fast food restaurants or with BMI. So that was pretty interesting. Like just because it's close doesn't necessarily mean you're going to eat it more, is what this study found. And proximity of non-fast food restaurants was not associated with BMI, but it was associated with frequency of eating at those restaurants. Long story short, it's not the cause of obesity, and we've talked about this a lot. Nothing is the true cause, and we can point fingers at it, but we can argue that it is a contributing factor, but the big question is to what extent.
Right. And with that being said, there is another article, but this specifically kind of looks at children and their association with fast foods. So basically, this article found that exposure to poor quality food environments has important effects on adolescent eating patterns and being overweight. There were policy interventions limiting the proximity of fast food restaurants to schools that could help reduce adolescent obesity. So they actually found that the students that they looked at a group of adolescent kids in California, and they realized they were heavier and more likely to be overweight or obese if the school was located within 1/2 mile of a fast food restaurant. After control for, of course, they went through the student demographic characteristics, the school characteristics, and they did some detailed controls for the type of community in which the school was actually located, which I thought that was interesting because my high school itself, it was located within 1/2 mile from a McDonald's, and I remember I took a venture there quite a bit, and I'm sure if that was not there, I probably wouldn't have eaten it.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew from my personal experience, other people that I knew just would literally just walk down or just would take a drive down.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, especially with those dollar menus being right there.
Well, and especially with kids who can't drive,
Right.
if it's walking distance, they're gonna go.
Right.
And especially when it's cheap, because kids probably have a couple bucks. They don't have a lot, so they'll go get an ice cream or a dollar burger or fries or something like that. So I'm not sure like exactly what the law states, but there in California it has been passed that McDonald's and these other fast food places can't be within a certain proximity. And when we get into current food trends, I'll bring up another point that relates to this California law about like McDonald's not being able to be close enough. So that being said, we'll jump into the current food trends. And the first one that is gaining a lot of traction, like super
obviously.
Yeah, it's like I've seen this pop up like super quick in like the past 2 weeks, but it's the Beyond Meat or Impossible meats at fast food restaurants. So Carl's Jr. now has the Beyond Meat patty, which is nationwide. So if you have a Carl's Jr., I think Carl's Jr. is like Hardee's.
There's still some Carl's Jr. around here. I think when you go more up towards Midwest, it starts turning to Hardee's. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm not sure about Hardee's, if Hardee's will have the Beyond Meat, but Carl's Jr. at least has it nationwide. It's not necessarily vegan. It is the Beyond Meat patty, which is a plant-based patty, but they do have a disclaimer saying that it's still cooked in the same area as the other meat, and it does come with cheese and mayo.
So vegetarian burger. Basically.
Yeah, so if you want it vegan, you have to make sure that you actually ask for no cheese and mayo, and if you're crazy strict vegan, it might not even be vegan because of how they cook it. The Burger King has the same thing, but they have the Impossible Burger, which is just a different brand of plant-based burger. Same deal, not necessarily vegan because of they cook it on the same grill. I've tried the Carl's Jr. one, and it was good. I haven't tried the Burger King one, but Burger King is not nationwide. It's at select stores. So
I don't really like Burger King anyways.
Yeah, same. I don't even know the last time I went to Burger King, but I do like Carl's Jr.
Yeah, I agree.
Del Taco also serves some menu items with Beyond Meat. So they have the Beyond Taco, which has cheese, so it's considered vegetarian. And then they have the Beyond Avocado Taco, which is technically vegan, but again, prepared in the same area as other foods, so might end up not being vegan, but it has that Beyond Meat crumbles on it.
So another thing that we come across in fast food environments is just they're basically targeting towards the diet culture. And then one specific example is Chipotle. If you guys haven't seen or see in our previous episodes when we talked about this, but Chipotle does try to serve some diet specific bowls like the keto bowl and the paleo bowl, which I mean, if you did it yourself, you'd be just as fine. But Chipotle uh, isn't the only place that is doing this specific bowl. I mean, I think there's even the trend of clean bowls to go, like fresh, you know what I'm talking about? The clean, fresh fit fuels. Like even down here, they have 2 places that have uh, clean meals to go or stuff like that. So it's starting to pop up left and right, basically targeting towards not only just the bodybuilding type of community, but also for anybody that wants diet specific foods. So that's important to keep in mind too. And these are obviously outside the regular fast food chains as well, but they're still operating under the same concept.
Mm-hmm. The bottom line is just fast food is still fast food, no matter what. These are not necessarily healthier options. They're just options for those with dietary restrictions. If you look at the calories and fat grams, sodium grams of like a regular burger compared to the Impossible, it's not that different.
It's actually a little bit more with the Impossible meat.
Sodium, it's maybe like 150-ish. Don't quote me on that, but give or take 150 milligrams of sodium more than the regular.
So before you eat clean, make sure you research it.
And yes, the like type of fat and the type of protein is different, but that's such a minor piece in the whole big puzzle of what makes something healthy versus not.
Right.
So calorie for calorie, it's give or take about the same. Sodium, about the same. It's just an option for those that do have dietary restrictions or someone who just prefers to not eat meat. A personal choice type thing. But it's not, if you're looking for a healthier option, just don't eat fast food. That's the better option.
Just eat at home.
Yeah.
I mean, or meal prepping. I mean, which is a daunting task in itself to a lot of people.
Yeah. But start somewhere.
Yeah. So the next current trend that we have are kiosks, and basically the basic principle is that you can now place your order through a kiosk versus ordering with an actual person, which I prefer because sometimes I don't get an attitude back. So if loss of jobs isn't bad enough with this, it's also a fantastic marketing opportunity. I mean, since the kiosks are they're completely automated. They have different messages that can be portrayed at different times of the day to cater towards the type of client who would be ordering at that time. So for example, someone goes to McDonald's for breakfast, probably they're not going to order an ice cream because first off, the machine is probably broken.
Right.
But someone ordering McDonald's at 11 p.m. with late night cravings is more likely to get that ice cream versus a breakfast meal. They are matching the marketing based on behavior. This is absolutely nothing new. Take commercials, for example, but it's just being capitalized even more right now. I mean, like you see commercials when it starts getting closer to that 10, 11 times, and all of a sudden you get all these fast food commercials going on. So they already know we're searching.
Yeah. They know.
So they know. Bottom line, technology is evolving, and fast food companies will find any way to make sure they can have you eat some more of their food. I mean,
exactly.
That's honestly the thing.
Capitalism for you. So moving on to the third trend is the delivery app. So this is DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats. They're different based off of where you live, but they just make it way too easy to overeat. And there are delivery costs, but they also make it really easy to avoid those delivery costs as well. And people normally don't pay attention. Like there's some sort of like it's so, I don't know. There's something appealing about just sitting at home and having your food delivered to you. Like, we've definitely done it a couple times, and it makes it just so easy because you don't even have to get up. The commercials for these apps are so persuasive. It's like, how to make Thai chicken wings. Order Thai chicken wings. Like, the fuck? Like,
$3 delivery charge.
that,
Delivery charge. Do you want to also tip this person? Like, next thing you know, you're going $6 over, and you're just like,
exactly. And they also, a lot of them I've started to notice as well is like free delivery after $15. So I end up adding more food and I eat it all.
yeah.
So they get you. And I get why they put that minimum, because they don't want to deliver like a $5 thing.
Right.
It's not worth their time. So I totally get it. But it just makes it way too easy to overeat. And this topic of delivery apps actually relates back to the whole laws going on in California about how fast food restaurants shouldn't be too close to schools. Kids are using these delivery apps to get McDonald's delivered to their school. Yes.
What?
Yes. So there is now talk.
So blown away.
Yeah. And I sub at school, so I've seen it. My mom works at a school. She's seen it. And there is talk of laws of, because you can't force a kid to not have this app. So
Right.
it's not like you can ban the app at school. But, this is a...
You can ban whoever can come onto campus, right? Oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean, that's what the lawmakers are trying to figure out. Like, what's the line,
This is America. Let those kids eat what they want.
It's just, they have the app. They have more than likely their parents' card saved on it.
Even then, like when I was a kid and like I was able to get food, I was given a couple bucks and they said figure it out, and I figured it out.
But this is a whole new area of things that the lawmakers need to figure out. Like, should this be allowed? What's too much, and what is out of their hands, and how much are they really going to control,
Right.
It's tricky. It's really tricky.
And also you're thinking a lot about ethics at that point too, about, I mean, granted they're kids and they're not grown adults yet, but it's also like how it's kind of like we already know Kerbo app is going on. They're trying to control kids eating that way.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, some would argue to an extent that this is like you're trying to control what they're eating through this way too.
Right.
So.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, ultimately, it comes down to whether or not the parents install this app and sync up their cards with their kid's phone. At that point, the parent has made that choice.
Or just not just that, but also like kids also learn by their parents too, and what their parents teach them. So I don't know.
So at what point is it appropriate for the law to step into that?
I don't know.
It's really tricky, because then you're interfering with, these companies like DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, ability to do, what their companies was set out to do. Not to make kids eat fast food, but
right.
Convenient delivery app. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but, lawmakers worked to get, McDonald's and other fast food places to not be in a certain radius, but now kids are still getting it easier than ever almost. They don't even have to walk anymore. So it's tricky. It is really tricky, but that's what's going on in California right now.
I bet it's not just California though.
Probably.
So let us know your thoughts, you guys, and then comment or send us some questions or anything. Because this topic got heavy way too quickly.
Oh my gosh. So with that being said, we will close out with our social media shout out for the week. It goes to LJ _ nutrition, and she's listening all the way from the UK. She has really tasty food pics. We always love food pics. And she recently had a baby, so she is kind of documenting mommy life and just kind of showing her healthy eating process of, being a new mom. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support.
And congrats on the baby.
Yeah, congrats. That concludes our episode today, and we can't wait to hear what you think.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a review.
5 stars, no less.
On whatever platform you're listening to, or send us an email at keepingitjuicypodcast@gmail.com.
Or if you have any topics you'd like for us to touch upon, shoot us an email. Until next time, don't do anything that I wouldn't do.